don't have any QA across the institution.
Anybody else next?
Hi, I'm Janice Bites. I'm a professor of nursing here at Salle, and I've been teaching online 6 years. I've actually started a nursing course that has students from across the country, and that was an adventure for me because I was one of the early users, and I've learned something every semester. So I was looking at your presentation, which was really excellent, and very enjoyed that.
And what were you hoping to get out of this session?
Just to see about what I need to think about in terms of QA. I was just laughing because we just went through the Middle States review, and they asked very, very hard questions about quality assurance online. So get ready.
Hi, I'm Donian Leon from Arbonia University. Recently, used to be college, recently changed to university. I'm the web application administrator for Blackboard and other learning systems. And I also instructor designer, everything, and also a faculty trainer, training faculty how to use Blackboard, use responders for the learning systems.
And what were you hoping to talk about today, learn about today?
I would like to know, I would like to discuss or learn from everybody how we assure the quality of online courses, and also how do we evaluate online courses and the programs if it's possible. If we can even go beyond the courses, how do we evaluate online program? That would be nice.
Okay.
My name is Dennis Beaver. I'm an e-learning developer, freelance. I'm not associated with any school. Part of my background includes 12 years working for a dental school in Houston doing educational videotapes for undergrad, and then 5 years for United States Alliance doing computer-based training development for NASA astronauts and flight controllers. What I'd like to get out of this is just to be a fly on the wall and see what you guys are doing as far as training this. As a supposed component of the ADDIE process, as an instructional designer, I have been in it. I can find rare instances in my past where any company had time to do the evaluation of the ADDIE. Let's just get it out of the door, let's be done with it. There's usually no time. And the budgets are really cycle through and get feedback and make things better. So the E is an often neglected part, I think.
Scott.
Scott B. from Drexel University and Director of Academic Technology at Newman University. And I'm on the chair of the e-learning committee, and one of our tasks this year is to try to get some kind of peer review in place and to look at quality assurance. One of the things I'm interested in doing is doing some focus groups with online students to see how our online fill-in-the-blank evaluations compare with actual focus groups.
And you're talking evaluation, faculty evaluation, basically.
Student evaluations
Of faculty.
of faculty of courses.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Susan Darlington. I'm an instructional designer with Montgomery County Community College, and I teach the faculty how to set up their online courses, and I also help teach an online course for the instructors to get certified to teach online. And we did have 2 faculty that were Quality Matters approved, and it was an extremely intense process. Back and forth, a couple little things that they didn't quite get right, even though you thought their course looked perfect. So it is a really intense process, but just finding out what other colleges do, and it's hard because instructors have their academic freedom, and it's hard to tell them, like, you need to do this and this and this. And there's that fine line there.
I think we can touch on some of these issues. Might be helpful if we all went into them. So issues we run up against when we're trying to do quality assurance. I know we've had them. And so,
I'm going to teach sociology here. I know nothing about this stuff, so I'm trying to catch up.
okay, another fly on the wall. Okay.
is Tyler Mitchell. I work at Arcadia University. I'm the Blackboard admin, and I teach some various comp sci courses. I just sort of want to see what everybody else is doing. We're looking to move away from the fill in the circle evaluations of our professors, do everything online. We already started doing some of our entrance exams online, so just trying to move things that way and see what everybody else is doing.
Okay.
My name is Kayla O'Donnell, Drexel University, but I work at Cabrini. I'm the instructional technology coordinator there. And I'm teaching my very first online graduate course this semester. It's been quite the eye-opener after doing all the training side of it to actually be conducting it is different. And mostly it's just to get a sense. At Cabrini, they're trying to put together a task force where there are some standards and measurability and things like that. And just wanted to hear some ideas.
Okay, good.
Fred Cohen, also from Drexel University, although actually at the Drexel University campus. Let's see, I primarily, actually I don't do Blackboard Vista things full time, but I do some tasks part time. And I just wanted to, I often, when I do interact with faculty one-on-one, they want to put together the best possible class, and they're panicking at the last minute, and I'd like to think a little more holistically about it as I attempt to help them.
Okay.
My name is Stephanie Sutcliffe, and I work for Drexel e-learning. I'm also an adjunct instructor for the School of Education, and I've been teaching as an adjunct for the last 7 years online. Ideally, not only does my boss charge me with a lot of the quality aspects of what I do as an instructional designer at Drexel e-learning, I really want to know what other people are doing as far as designing and developing quality online courses. And also, as an instructional designer, I have to support multiple online courses and a lot of instructors with delivering quality education. So, twofold for me.
And let's see, keep going across the road.
I'm Rich Furness. I work at Drexel University and Union University, primarily Drexel, and I help faculty with their online courses.
Okay. Anything you were hoping to learn in particular here today?
Anything.
Anything.
Anything and everything.
Okay.
Steve Chestnut, Drexel University BB Vista support,
Okay.
and here just to learn whatever.
Okay. All right. And
I'm John Caputo, instructional design here at Salle. Actually, right in the middle of taking Quality Matters training right now. So I definitely have a lot of issues on my mind. My background is actually corporate learning and development. And one of the things that I've kind of been interested to talk about is, to me, I'm being devil's advocate here today, but to me the Quality Matters process is counterintuitive to trends in learning and development as far as developing quickly, being very nimble about it, being able to change and adapt and keep content fresh. And does participating in something like the Quality Matters process really stifle your ability to have that refresh every time you would run a course, for example? Once it's Quality Matters approved, you have to stick with it. If you, for example, I was in the great presentation by Mike earlier today, and he was mentioning that he likes to, a new issue, a version of the book comes out, he pretty much does the whole course over from scratch, just to make sure that he's taking a very thorough and holistic approach to the content. Does that then negate whatever Quality Matters approval you got of the prior incarnation of the course? And what are the pros and cons of that? So I certainly am a fan of having a standard and judging against the standard, but I'm right now I'm just a little bit skeptical about the true need to go full distance, so to say, with the Quality Matters standard. I think it may be, for me, a little bit too restrictive in my initial take on it. But anyway, off my soapbox. Sorry, Regina.
I'm Regina Hierholzer, and I work at Salle University. John is one of my colleagues, and we're taking the Quality Online Matters, as you said, the course at the moment. And I would like to, today, after this session, I would like to hear what other people are doing with quality matters. We've been talking about it for a while, and we're finally taking a course, and now the next thing we have to do is figure out how we're going to implement it here at the university, which I've talked to you before, Georgelyn, about how you implemented it at Bucks. We have to do it similar to the way you did it, or not. And now that I'm sitting in a room with colleagues from other universities, where are they with quality matters, and how do they implement it on their campus? And basically, we're at the beginning stages of, okay, how do we do this? How do we do it ourselves, just physically do it ourselves, and how do we convince our faculty that they need to do it in their courses?
Wow. So is anybody doing quality assurance in this room now? Other than your faculty evals, are you doing any other kind of course quality assurance? Okay. What are you doing?
Well, when we put 2 degree programs online in a quick, we did peer review. We used the quality matters criteria, and we did some basic peer review with the courses, in part as a way to get the courses to that point. We said, okay, May 1st you're going into peer review, you better have it ready by then. And it was useful, but because it was internal and the faculty were busy, the peer reviews were pretty cursory, but useful nonetheless.
Right.
Right now for the main campus, we can't really do a lot of the quality matters checklist and everything. But for all of the online courses, all of the instructional technologists for Arcadia Online are quality matters trained, and then they go through the rubric for every single course, and a professor goes through whenever they're developing the course, and they'll go through and check everything off, and they don't get paid for the course development until everything passes, and it goes to the instructional technologist, and then from there it bumps up to the dean of Arcadia Online, and he checks them all out before they go online. So.
My comment was that we don't have it across the institution, which is the first line right there. But what we're finding in getting people together in a room like this that have not been brought together in a room like this before is that there are pockets of this happening, but we haven't tapped into them, and we certainly haven't leveraged them. So we're trying to tease out those things. And there are some departments and some programs who do a good quality assurance job. It's just that hasn't been communicated, broadcast widely, or certainly leveraged in other parts of the institution. So you have this ad hoc stuff going on, which I think is not atypical. But now that we know about it, we need to do something. Or do something with it.
Yeah, I QA a lot of the online instructors courses. For example, we'll have an adjunct who's experienced with online teaching, but they're teaching a new course, they're designing it, and they're adding elements that they haven't yet used before, or whatever it might be. And I have to go into their course. They'll contact me and say, okay, Stephanie, I've posted my video, and I have my voice announcement, and I've created all my discussion boards, but I can't get it to link in week 3 or whatever it might be. So I have to go in and literally go through the entire course to make sure every link is working, documents are opening up. We caution against using Word documents and putting PDFs. So there's a lot of things that I have to go in and just make sure that it's kind of up to snuff. But it's really not our job as instructional designers at Drexel eLearning to do that. We do it as a courtesy, especially if we're asked to do it. Really, we push back on the program directors to say, hey, this is the instructor's responsibility.
Right.
They have to make sure that their course is really ready to go and completely functioning. So it's kind of a double-edged sword because we're kind of putting more, we're adding all of that onto our plate when we want to make sure that we provide a quality product, but at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of, it's really a department issue.
Okay.
But we take it on ourselves, if you know what I mean?
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Another set of questions. How many of you are doing okay, when we talk about quality assurance, are we talking about faculty evaluations, course design, and what you're saying, course functioning, or are we talking about both? So how many of you do faculty, like, let me give an example. At Bucks, my area, online learning, the way Bucks is set up for its online learning, all the academic departments still offer the courses. Therefore, the assistant academic dean for the academic department oversees the faculty member. I cannot, out of online learning, evaluate a faculty member. I cannot offer student evaluations of faculty performance. That's in our union contract. So when we talk about issues, if we get that far, how unions work and what they'll allow us to do and not to do is a big issue that we have on our campus. So I can't do faculty evaluations, but course design is something that we do help out with, and therefore I can put in place a process of evaluating course design. So how many of you are doing the whole thing? Are interested in both faculty evaluation and course design? It's a twofold for you guys. How many of you are just more interested in the course design aspect? No, we got really a mixed bag then. Okay, and then anybody just interested in the faculty evaluation side? Okay, so therefore, let me tell you, I can't speak much to faculty evaluations other than knowing that we have facilitated for the departments a way of putting their evaluations, faculty evaluations online, so the online students can take the faculty evaluation and do it online within the Blackboard Vista system that we use. So we have helped facilitate that, but the downside of that is we have academic deans who don't really understand online courses, therefore what they're using is an evaluation instrument that's not particularly geared to making sure it's asking questions about the instructor's performance in an online class. It's still more suited to the face-to-face classroom. So that's an obstacle we have to overcome, and I think if you're looking at faculty evaluations, you have to make sure you're gearing them towards the right medium. Montgo is just putting something through your committee structure, I believe, that will help with online evaluations of faculty.
Yeah, I know there was an issue with the online students weren't completing.
Yeah, but I think they did some kind of a redesign of the form, which I just asked Monica, when you get that through that process, I'd like to know, because I like to see what their faculty senate agreed to and what they're going to be evaluating their faculty on as well. Because how many of you know what QM is, or is that a foreign word to anybody here? Because everybody's up to speed on what that does. We don't have to go into that. Good. Then you know that it is about course design. It is not about faculty evaluations. But yet that's what, who was it? Maybe it was LaSalle. You said the faculty fear, you have to overcome, you have to get faculty willing to do this or be participants in it. That was the first thing we hit up against with Quality Matters, was how do we get faculty buy-in to this process? How do we get them motivated? And we've been 6 years since the first year of the FIPSI grant with Quality Matters. I got wind of it at a conference I went to, sat in on their session, and then went forward with that. So we've been doing it for 5 years, and now after 5 years, it's a common term. Everybody knows it. It's ingrained. It's not fearful. It's a part of the process that will help them do their job better. So part of that, I think, quality assurance process is getting that to that level with the faculty members, where they don't fear it. They don't see it as something that somebody's holding, a stick over their head and is going to beat them up about that. It's something that will make their life easier. So that's one of the things that we've learned. And we just started out in the beginning at our in-service day in, I don't know if it was spring or the following fall, whatever it was, an in-service day. And we made up t-shirts. and it just said Quality Matters at Bucks, or Quality Matters at Bucks, and on the back it said Pass It On. So of course everybody loves a t-shirt, and that was a very simple device where all our faculty were together to get them asking what is Quality Matters, and then we had our handwritten booklet saying, this is about designing your online course, we can help you. Not we're going to evaluate you, not that your peers were going to evaluate you, even though that's part of the process, but we want to help make your life easier. So I think that approach helped us a lot with saying, this will make your life much easier. And when we ran our first workshops, and at that point, Quality Matters only offered one type of workshop, and that was how to become a peer reviewer. And we had 20 people in that workshop. 18 of them walked away and said, I don't want to be a peer reviewer, but this is the best professional development I've ever had, and I will use this in my face-to-face classes as well as in my online classes because it just makes so much sense to me. So, yes?
I have a question because there's so far a very strong distinction between online and I guess traditional classes. At Cabrini, it just so happens most of the classes are hybrids, they're blended. And so I guess I'm wondering, I mean, so for our what do you do? Do your faculty also use online like partially, and how would you evaluate that? I mean, because that's a stranger kind of situation where, as an instructional designer, you wouldn't walk into their classroom and evaluate them. And
right.
I think they think of their online space as an extension of that classroom.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if anybody's tried to apply
Quality Matters
hybrid
does work
blended.
for hybrid courses as
It
well.
does? Okay.
But a lot with our hybrid faculty, they're working through our area as well. So, you know, we're making sure with a hybrid that they're not running, you're doing this online and you're doing this face to face. The whole part of the hybrid was make sure the two weave together. And so we what we ended up doing with Quality Matters is build it into our conversations, and we don't all even mention Quality Matters a lot of times. It's just the way we work. And then as an afterthought, it's like, oh, by the way, did you know by doing this, you're meeting all these standards? And so it's a back-end thing with our hybrid courses. How about the rest of you guys? Doing anything specifically for hybrids? No? Okay.
So how many faculty are using it in your institution?
How many? We have 5 faculty that have actually gone through the QM seal of approval, but many more have gone through what we do an internal peer review process. And we're to the point, who mentioned they don't pay? Yeah. We're doing more with the incentives now too. If they went through the formal process, they got a $500 stipend. We are not paying for course development. That just does not work on our campus. We never have, never will pay for course development. But they will get a $500 stipend if they go through the formal process. And now we're probably going to institute on a more formal level, the informal thing that we have been doing, which is the internal QM review, and tell them that once they do that, they'll get $250. So it's sort of this stepped up process. You work with us because we've had too many of them going off on their own and not coming back to us in a timely manner. So to get them to come back to us in the timely manner to do the internal review before they launch the course, we're going to institute that more formal step of the informal process that's already been in place, but make it a little more attractive to them.
Do they have to go through this?
No.
Do you
Your
have
union, so we'll talk about issues. What are the issues we're coming up against? Yeah.
And we just had where our union, you know, didn't want us telling them how to design their course, so we had to switch our online certification course to, when we review them, it's gonna be an IT person, and it's gonna be a check-off list of technical skills. Can they upload a syllabus? Can they add an announcement? No pedagogy.
No
Which is just, I mean, we can maybe say, you know, I think your students might get a little confused here because, you know, you have an empty folder or something like that, but, so it's problems with the union.
Okay. Steve?
Scott? Yeah, at Newman, we've seen that kind of observing of faculty would be a responsibility of the dean to tell if your instructor showed up for his online class checklist so that they can go in, did he personalize the homepage, did he collect assignments and so forth. And I've gotten at least one of the deans that.
I'd be interested, if you'd be willing to share that, I'd be interested to see that, because I said that's where we need to head down there. That was on my to-do list coming back in the QM conference this year was, how can I help the academic deans better? What can I give them so that they can better work on their end of it, so that we're working it from both angles? And so documents like that, what Monco's doing, are the things that I'm interested in.
I'd be very interested in that, George Lynn.
Okay.
As a faculty member, I can talk about some of the biggest blockade to development is timing. It doesn't work for some of us that also are in clinical practices. We have to be off campus a couple days a week to practice whatever our specialties are. We can't do an hour here, an hour there. It has to be chunks of time for us to develop. We have to wrap stuff around faculty meetings before, after, whatever. I think if you couch stuff in terms of faculty development and make it easy for people to show up, that's what has worked for us. It's just when we have like 20 sessions, an hour here, an hour, people just can't come. Our schedules are too heavy.
And I think we've done, one thing we're gonna try this year is to, during the semester break, the winter intersession break, we always have a tech day where a lot of sessions run for faculty and staff. But we're gonna make it a day-long session and invite people to get their course ready for peer review. Sort of give us a day, we'll hit it hard, we'll work with you and get you ready for a peer review, whether you want to do it internal or external.
I'd love organizations to set the day 6 months in advance.
Right.
Because for clinical practice, you also have to give your schedules months in advance. So set it, let's do this, and let's have ongoing development. I think there's so much in software from Microsoft Office through all of these electronic platforms that faculty haven't learned because they simply don't have the time to go to the workshops. And yet they're dying to learn. Because once they feel that it makes your life easier, like I totally concur about the synchronous thing. It's so much less work than an asynchronous course.
Right. And we do a lot of our courses now, we're doing them totally online. Some of them are self-paced. We do one on pedagogy that brings in the QM thing, and that is online. It's not self-paced. It is structured and facilitated in a group of 20 people. It takes 3.5 weeks to go through. But one of the units is designed around QM. So it's built into, and now we've actually, after 2 years, got the academic deans to buy in that they're not going to let anybody teach online until they've either gone through this course or can show that they've gone through it at another school. Because we have a lot of part-time faculty. We don't want them to do double duty, but you have to be able to show us that you've learned something more than the point and click of the system. So we do a lot with the pedagogy. But we hear you too. We try and run the workshops, and there's just no good face-to-face time for people. So the synchronous doesn't even work well for us with so many part-timers all over the place. The asynchronous is what we're sort of locked into for the most part.
We try to offer both by doing the workshops and then capturing them and then giving others a link to the archive of that. So even people who were there can revisit it, even people who watched it live can stream it and go revisit it, and people who missed it can go see.
That's great.
We do workshops throughout the summer that are open to everyone. We actually pay them to show up, which actually gets professors to show up. And then whenever professors are going to be developing for the online group, they actually meet for 2 to 3 hours and go over, quality matters and how to go through Blackboard, what tools are available, and they'll meet with a single instructional technologist, and then that instructional technologist will be with them through the entire course development. So that way they have a bit of a rapport with them and can kind of develop a little bit quicker. And they catch a lot of things. And instead of multiple instructional technologists just helping them along the way.
We don't have time because we have one instructional designer. Yes, in the back.
One of the things that that my department is doing, and we weren't asked to do this, we weren't charged to do this, we just thought it might help new and experienced online instructors is creating course design and development checklists, providing a quarterly newsletter, any kind of communication tool to stay in touch with a lot of the online instructors so that they know, oh, there's job aids and there's different forums that can help them that they can quickly use, you know, in the time of need. So that's something that we're currently working on and hopefully we'll be rolling out for the beginning of for 2010. So these are, and this was just all brought about from just basic dialogue with our online instructors and program directors. What do you need? What do they want? And we hear it directly, and sometimes it's through other channels, but we're trying to create a repository, if you will, of job aids and different tools that can help them while they're on the job and trying to teach.
And one thing that we created for our faculty, we call it the Start Here module, and we strongly encourage them to use it. I don't think there's anybody that works with us that doesn't have it in their class. And
right.
Really what it does, it covers the standards 1, 7, and 8 of the Quality Matters rubric. So it goes through the navigation. They have to customize it.
Yeah.
But we've given them the basis of everything from putting their, we call it course format, not a syllabus, the format, the navigation, where do they go for students who have accessibility issues, you know, ADA issues, where can they go for that? Where are they going to go for technology support and help, library services, student skills support, all those things. And we've done that all up into one unit. Start Here, they customize their particular things about their course in that unit, but there's whole parts of that, whole pages they don't have to touch. And so we've tried to make, once again, we're telling you, we're making your life simpler, meeting these standards. And yes, we've bought into two basic standards we use on the campus are the Quality Matters standards and Chickering and Gamson's 7 Good Teaching Practices. And everything we base sort of goes around those two things. And we use the ADDIE model. That was down here, talked about the ADDIE model, the evaluate. That's the basis of, it's a simple one, it's one they can understand. And yes, getting them to do that evaluation, so working with them to put in several evaluation things along the way through the course so that they're not just waiting until the end of the course to build an evaluation, they're doing it several places along. But we found the Start Here module just greatly cut down on student confusion and saved a lot of grief, and they love it. They love it.
Just in response to that, I'm just wondering if any of the universities, anyone who's here, if their university works on a templatized course format, meaning do all of the courses, are they all templatized in that they look the same, they function the same, they're structured the same, so that basically the instructors are just filling in the gaps? Does anyone work that way?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you do, okay.
I'm trying.
And is that a plus or a minus in your opinion?
I don't know. I was actually going to include that as part of a question of the groups. I mean, we decided to take this approach. Essentially, when we start discussions with a faculty member, we have a package that we give them that has kind of a guide to building an online course with some concepts of quality standards in there. Say, okay, look, if you structure things like this, you're in pretty good shape. And we do provide various templates as far as an online syllabus template. Weekly organizer templates so that, okay, great, here are your objectives, here's your readings, here's discussion questions, assignments, so on and so forth. To really make it as simple as possible, respect everybody's time and their busy schedules to say, okay, look, if you fill in the holes, you're going to come out with at least a well-organized course that, once you take one course, in a program you've taken them all essentially, you don't have to worry about the interface, it just becomes very transparent, and you just forget the technology, forget all that stuff, and just worry about the content. And that's kind of also our way of beginning sort of encompassing quality process, because we're saying up front, and yeah, we want you to have objectives, content to match that, we want the evaluations to match that.
Right.
And so then as we circle around at the end, we just have a really big 170-point checklist that we go through and say, okay, great, did they have this, all from the package, and is everything in Blackboard right? Do all the links work right, or does everything have a discussion topic if it's supposed to? And it seems to work. So far, so good. I mean, to me, it then becomes a time issue, though. It's if we're trying to take this approach where we provide a template structure. We're still working with faculty members throughout the development time, but how long does that process actually take? How long should it take to develop the course? And then how long on the end do you tack on for a true quality review? I mean, we're not getting in deep and going, all right, does every one of your objectives match content that match an evaluative instrument? Just not to that level for numerous issues. But if you were doing that, like Jennifer Marquette, I believe you said you guys really take a whole, you got to go through the whole quality matters process before your course goes online, before you get compensated, and that's it. I mean, if I may ask, what are people looking at for development times? If you're looking to develop before the course starts, are you doing it? We're doing it a semester before the course starts, so you got about 3 months to develop, and your course goes live. So as far out as we can forecast what's going to be available. Is that the norm for people, or are you doing a 6-month development schedule to incorporate the QM part? What's?
Professors for the fall need to start in the spring.
Okay.
Like before the spring term's over. I'm teaching a course in Robot C in the summer. I started development already.
Gotcha.
So it kind of depends how in depth you're going to get with everything.
Sure.
Obviously, an English course is going to be a little bit different than a
content
comp
domain
sci course.
specific.
But,
sure.
Yeah. And some of it, if they've taught the course for 10, 15 years in the classroom, they're going to be able to just throw things together pretty quickly, for the online version.
Here's an issue that Drexel struggles with, because I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, yeah, this sounds great, and we try to develop at least 2 terms out. But we bring in a lot of adjuncts, and adjuncts are hired 3 weeks before the term starts.
Right there.
So all of that stuff sounds great, but it never flies. It never works, and it's 24 hours before the course goes live, and I don't have this done, I don't have that done. So it's a whole other quality process. Yeah, it really is.
That's what we just said. The course isn't going to run if we don't have a teacher who can really teach online.
Right.
But it's taken us 5 years to get to this point where the AAD, the deans actually realize it's not worth the grief they're getting from the student phone calls that they have to handle.
Right.
Because this course is going down the tubes.
Right. Exactly.
So. And part of what we do to help the adjuncts is they're more likely going to get the lowest level courses. So we have built in templates for, like a Psych 110 template, and anybody can use it and they can customize it and basically know they're going to be okay with that. There might not be a whole lot of customization, personalization the first time this adjunct teaches it, but the guts of the course is there, and they can sort of go with it, and we can help them through it.
Right.
So we've done templates, but we don't do a template for the entire college. We have base templates. Is your course going to run on units, or is it going to run on a weekly or a chapter structure? We can help you set up with that type of template. But then we have like our historic preservation program. They designed one template for everyone in the historic preservation program who's teaching online to use that particular template. It's got glossaries built into it and things like that. So the question of do you have one for the whole school? No, but we have various ways that we're trying to make it easier. And I think that's part of what I keep getting back to. All that we've done, even with the quality assurance and other things, is just to make things easier. So the faculty don't see us as the bad guys trying to ensure course quality. We really don't even though that word quality matters is there, we're not beating them up with that. We're beating them up with, this is going to make life easier, folks, and this is going to reduce the amount of student phone call or student emails you get and things like that. And that really has worked well for us.
One more question.
Sure.
Well, we've been talking about how we've been online courses, but how about program? Do you have any mechanism to access?
I'm sorry, how about what?
Evaluate, assess an online program like MBA program,
Yeah, and that is what Middle States wants to see too, is the evaluation of the whole program.
So like no.
Is anybody doing program evaluation? Building up to that?
Like an online program.
Maybe that's a session. The e-learning comes.
There you go.
There we go. We can do a session on that.
We have almost like online exit interviews for the
Okay.
students. We do an instructional technology program online, and we do an online MBA. I mean, we haven't branched out from there yet. So, but I mean, it's just like an electronic exit interview along with the regular course evaluation at the end.
Okay.
Just sort of, and, multiple evaluations throughout to sort of gauge where the students are.
Yeah, but
And
what
where the program
instrument
is.
do you use the event? Event against what? You got the survey results, and then how to, what do you go by? You have to use the standards here, and then the interview results, and go against the standards. So how do we set that standards, assessment standards for online program?
Why would it be any different than what's for the face-to-face program?
Well,
Well, it's different.
is anybody using the Blackboard outcomes or the other, what's that database, there's a database. Anybody using any database driven programs?
Actually, that was one of the things they asked us because the course I teach online, I also teach on site. And they asked me specifically, what's the difference in the content of the courses? And I said, nothing.
Right.
There's no difference.
Yeah.
And they did ask us to track certification success.
Yeah, and
So that was the ultimate outcome.
I mean, I do all kinds of tracking in my area. I look at student we call it persistence rates, from where they were at 3-week enrollment to the end, how many they stayed, what is the grade point average of students in this class versus the grade point averages in the face-to-face classes. So, I mean, we are looking at those type of evaluations, those type of outcomes, but
We can exit interviews.
we don't promote at Boxley, take your whole program online. You can, I mean, we have listed what you can do online, but we find that most students are using a combination of the two, so it's really never been something we bought a key in on, but coming down to 15 minutes, I want to throw a couple things out there if you guys who don't have anything in place. I don't want this to be a pitch for Quality Matters, but it will be somewhat, simply because Quality Matters is based in standards, and that's why it was easy for us to go with them. We looked at what they had done, the research they had done, what they were basing their standards in is based on research. The nice thing is they're continuing now to do research to further develop and to ensure that what they said they thought was going to work based on that original research is continuing to work. So I'm reassured by that part of it. Where was I putting? So if you don't have time to sit down and look at all the literature yourself, do a research review and find out what are the best set of standards, Quality Matters is a really nice place to start. What I found out at the conference, they had their first conference this summer, was that every school is doing it differently. Many schools pay the base price for using the rubric, and you can use the rubric that was developed under the FIPSI grant and not pay anything. But a lot of schools like to be associated with QM, and our accrediting bodies like to see QM. They have bought into it. So for them, when you can say that you're using QM, and you can say you're using QM, they like that. That goes a long way. Okay, lost my train of thought. Standards, made it easy. QM. Schools are doing it differently. Many schools took a look at the 8 basic standards and the 40 substandards. Penn State, for instance, had a set of standards. I think it had 86 items to it, like their checklist. You're saying you got 160 items to get through. They had like 86 or something, and it was near impossible for them. They went to QM, or using their set of standards, but they added 3 or 4 more in, and some of them are based on instructor interactivity. So they've really customized the rubric for what they're doing to fit their needs, and they had other needs other than just the basic QM rubric, but they can still use that QM in their marketing. One of the research, just one more thing, because I know it'll go out. One of the research things that projects that were talked about at the conference was someone who had looked at schools that did not have a quality assurance process in place and those that were using Quality Matters. And not just the courses that were using under peer review or being developed with quality management standards specifically, but it was raising the quality of the courses across the board because it infiltrated out through the rest of, whether it be the face-to-face courses that instructor was teaching, she was doing a better job of aligning the objectives with the materials, with the learner engagement and the assessment. So across the board, it was raising the level of the course. I like that. My question to them was, can you tell me that this is QM that's doing this, or is this just quality assurance that's doing it? Either way, I think it makes a case that we need to be doing the quality assurance. And for me, I've just been involved with QM so long, you know. But it was good to know that you can customize the rubric. You don't have to use their rubric the way it is in order to participate with them. And if there is a certain amount of cachet with Quality Matters, because it is known to our accrediting bodies and it just is a buy-in with other people, then let's, you know, that works for me. Okay.
Equivalent or alternative to QM as far as you know?
The only other system I heard of, I think, was WIDS.
WIDS?
That's still WIDS, W-I-D-S. It was another instructional design, instructional design system that had standards built into it as well.
Okay.
But I'm not quite, I can't give you any more background on that.
Thanks.
I guess this is kind of a similar question, just more specific, but I was wondering if there was, as opposed to being like a checklist or a rubric-based approach, which again, given the realities of last-minute
Right.
faculty coming on board, I wonder if there's like a principles-based approach, because that would be more useful. In other words, if, you know, like if you can give a series of questions that, you know, when you add an element, you know, you add a syllabus element, you add a learning module, you know, what purpose does it serve? What does the student gain from this? How long does it take the student to access it? Can the student access it? You know, if you have like general principles that they can follow, as opposed to like, because, you know, again, people who are interested in the 40 and really getting everything perfect will do so. But for those who want to do a good job but don't have the particular interest in the terminology, it would be
Better to do it from the, well, if you developed that, would you please share?
So responsibility. So what if the discussion group doesn't work for that?
Yeah,
So
because
there are disciplines that some tools work for and
And
some
some
tools don't.
don't, some don't.
exactly, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing, because I was on a project that in a kind of non-qualitative way simply rated the number. It still exists, and the director of online learning, Chris Shields, gave a presentation at our e-learning conference last year on our Morningstar ratings.
Right.
But ratings is a loose term. They're more like quantity numbers that give you an idea of the complexity, the number of objects that have been created for each course, and ranks them in this way simply compared to the other courses in a college. I would often ask, I'd be like, well, couldn't we do a more qualitative kind of rating? And the goals are simply very different. Within our own, at Drexel, we have online-only courses, we have hybrid classes, and currently I believe an effort is underway to categorize them at the registrar level, but you know, we don't necessarily know how they are. Whether a shell just exists and it's not being used at all, you know, or whether that's intentional or not. And so, you know, given the vast differences in goals, you know, if someone's goal is simply to have, you know, to have a repository where they're not making photocopies for hybrid classes, you know, that's a very different goal.
Yes.
From, you know, from having a redundant array of videos up there so that if you were sick or something, you can access it and follow alongside. So, I mean, that's why I think more in terms of principles that we can give individuals, and it's a little along the lines of, you know, teach someone to fish. That if you can get them to think in terms of really internalize without even realizing it, they would effectively be able to create a kind of, you know, mental checklist.
Right, and I think that's sort of where I was trying to say earlier, we do a lot where we don't even say quality matters. We know by this discussion that our instructional designer is having, she's touching on standards 4, 5, and 6, but she's not saying it to them. So when it comes time to do a formal review, they realize they've already internalized all these things like you're saying. So sometimes you don't have to be so formal in the process you put in place when you work with people. It's just how you work with them. But we also hand them the rubric to walk away with lots of time. It just depends on where they are at in the process. It's not something we hit them. We do hit them up front in our pedagogy or our online 101 class with the pedagogy. They know what quality matters is. And the one exercise they do in that course is they go into 3 of the courses that have quality matters approval, and they have to look for the certain standards and tell us how did this enhance the course. And that's one of the parts they like about OL 101 the best, because they're all newbies basically at this. So when they can see a course that's put together well and can understand in the various disciplines what's working for them, it's gone a long way in convincing them that this is a good process to understand a little
Are
bit.
things like that available publicly, like on the QM website? Because that's what everyone always wants to see, right? Like, let me see a model class.
A model class. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think so. That would be a great suggestion to make to them. I know in the training they've got courses they go through, but I don't think they're even model courses.
No, they've got things, a lot of stuff
Well,
wrong
you're
with them.
supposed to be spotting what's wrong with them.
Yeah, it's like 50% right.
So that would be.
It'd be great to see both. One on the left that's good and one on the right that's bad.
Right. I remember years ago, WebCT had put up a model course, an exemplary course with the WebCT project. We looked at that from a QM perspective and said, I will never, ever tell my faculty to go look at this course. Nothing lines up, this isn't here, you don't know where you're supposed to go. But from what WebCT was looking for, it was an exemplary course. What we were looking for, it was not.
And Mike, maybe we can build research. It's possible that some of the exemplary courses have gone through QM.
Now,
Which is a tool program.
yeah, this was years ago. That would be good, and then they could be held up as the,
We start our 10-week online certification course with an orientation on the Saturday, and instructors come in who have passed the quality matters and they show their courses. So it's a great way to start.
To start off.
They can see, pretty much a perfect class.
Right.
And,
And but your question, I know we're going to run out of time real soon. I think 2 o'clock. Do we have 2 or 2:15?
2:15.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got 20 minutes. I was thinking your question of does quality matters stop you from continuously improving? I think their seal of approval is only good for so long anyhow, and then you have to renew it. But I've never thought about that issue. I guess once that a person understands and gone through that whole process, I guess we assume, probably wrongly assume, should never assume, but we assume that they're not going to do anything to screw that up. If anything, they're going to be constantly improving the course, not making it less meet the standards any less. They know what it takes to meet the standards. They put a lot of work into this to meet the standards, so why would they do anything out of it?
But that raises a very good question. What does it apply to? Because online courses are not static. They're never fixed in time. So, really, I haven't seen a seal, but I wonder, does it say,
It has a year on it.
It has a year on it, but a lot can happen in
A lot can happen in
so
a year.
it should really have a date on it, I guess.
Yeah, and it
You've
as it was.
You've expired.
Studied by.
And I guess that's part of the reason Buck said they would never pay for course development, because all you have is the product as it stood at that point in time, and we never wanted a static product, so we were more interested in working with faculty to develop the continuous improvement rather than just a product that was going to be static. So, yes?
Wiz is still around. Their user group meeting is November 5th.
Okay.
It's worldwide.
Okay. And
Instructional design system.
worldwide, and do you know any more about it?
Just on Google.
Okay.
They're still alive.
They're still alive and kicking. Very good. Is there anything we as a group want to do to move forward?
Well, I think, as we discussed briefly, that our faculty faculty are, well, of course they're busy, and then they're worried about other faculty looking at their courses. And I think it would be neat if we could have some kind of event where faculty from different institutions could get together to, you know, to get to know each other and maybe find some peer review buddies at other schools.
And I can tell you, that's a great idea, and I think there's a lot of validity to it, because when we ran our first peer review workshops, as you remember, I said that was the only workshop Quality Matters first offered. Well, we did run them. They were open to the whole area, and it was extremely helpful for our Bucks faculty. So we had about half Bucks faculty and half external faculty. It was very helpful for Bucks faculty to interact with faculty from all over, and they were sort of less intimidated by talking with other faculty than having the person in the office next to them looking over their shoulder. Do you know what I mean? It was almost, they could be a little bit freer with someone they didn't know than with someone they know. They didn't want the person next to them criticizing them, but it was okay to learn and share with someone external to them. That was less threatening. So I think that's a possible, we could talk about that. Yes, John? Did you
Oh,
ask
no,
a
sorry, I was
question?
just scratching.
Yes.
George, in an earlier conversation that you and I had, you were talking about some interest in having a consortium in Pennsylvania of schools that would do the peer reviews between each other.
Right,
And
a Quality Matters consortium.
yeah, and that would be another way to get a group together. It seems like a lot of the schools have been developing for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years online now, and now everybody wants to know, okay, how do you do it?
Right.
How do you develop a course? Now it's, okay, how do we assure our quality? There's a lot of interest in that right now.
Okay. And yeah, we are interested in a statewide consortium, so that's why Regina and I had the discussion, because I think we could, for Quality Matters, if anybody's interested, you'll get a reduced price for it, and then you can also run trainings at a reduced rate, share the trainings among the schools, just like you're saying, run the events, and it might be something like that that would help facilitate running events where instructors could get together. But once again, we run into the time issue. There's never really a good time to have these events where people can carve out the time to come. Maybe we could find a way to do it all online. A synchronous QM thing, but developing the set of peer reviewers is something that a consortium, and then relying on those peer reviewers, you know, instead of doing the national pool of peer reviewers, if we had a nice Pennsylvania pool of peer reviewers. So if anybody is interested in that, I'll give you my card. You can contact me and let me know, and we'll see. At the end of the QM conference, Penn State, Pitt, Shippensburg, Kutztown, Northampton County Community College, and Bucks, we were going to try to meet together this fall to actually try and see if there was enough of a basis to kick that off and get that going. So we still haven't had the meeting, but I hold out hope that we could do something on all levels across the state.
One of the things they do in healthcare that might be a good format for this, if faculty got together to look at courses, is a grand rounds format, where you take a patient scenario, and then everybody in the room kind of throws out ideas of alternative ways of doing things, and you're expected to be positively critical, and that might be something where, you know, people that are experienced or less experienced watch more experienced people look at courses and say, why don't you try this, why don't you try this, why don't you try that? Or have you thought, or have you considered?
We did something for a year, worked well for a year, called Lunch and Learns, where we would get faculty to come in and spotlight parts in their courses. And we would provide the lunch, and they came in and do the highlights. And then when they were done doing their particular little 5-10 minute thing, we would say, do you know that meets Quality Matters standard? So once again, we were building Quality Matters, not from that. We want the faculty to see the usefulness of what they were doing, the best practices of what other faculty were doing. It wasn't anything critical, but it got a lot of good sharing going among the faculty, and then we could tie it back to quality matters. Take that one so, any other ideas? Or any other?
Just a general question to the group. Does it ever come up about comments about rich media in the course? For example, there was a really difficult concept I didn't quite understand. Let's say, take physiology, the Krebs cycle. I didn't get the Krebs cycle comprehension very well because it was too much just verbal stuff. There wasn't enough graphics and animations to really put the point through. Does that ever come up as a criticism by either the student evaluations or by peer review? How important is the visuals in course composition?
Not that I'm aware of. What does crop up in quality matters reviews, if you have those things, you must offer an accessible alternative. So that's where quality matters is hitting you up with. If you have a video, is it closed captioned, or have you offered a text alternative to that? So in this case, if you've already provided the written information and this video is just going over it again, you're covered because you already have the textual information there. But from a quality matters standpoint, they're not asking, do you have enough content in the course? They're asking, does the content you have align with what you said you were going to teach? Have you provided materials? It's not asking, did you provide the materials in enough to meet, alternate learning styles? And then are you testing on what you said you were going to, what the objectives were? So, in my experience, no.
When we were doing peer review, we tried to have one reviewer from within the discipline and one from without. Is that generally what you do, or does discipline matter?
When we do the internal review, it's just one. We have a team of 4 people, myself, and I pretty much just the administrative part of it, the instructional designer, and 2 faculty members who are, well-trained in QM. And they do, one of them will do an internal QM review, and one-on-one with the faculty. When we do the external peer review, I always want to have 1 from the school and 2 from outside, because I just think that's
What about discipline?
and 1 from the discipline.
And one
Usually the one of the ones from outside is in the must be in the discipline. Yeah. So that's my preference for a team that they put together first. Well, we're winding down. Still have a few minutes.
I was just going to say, on a related note, if anyone goes with a template and they use Wimba voice, Wimba announcement, you want to remove Wimba announcements, because if you copy a course over and then try to modify that announcement, you'll never be able to remove it. You'll have to copy everything except for your announcements and then start over again in a new course. And as far as your actual Wimba voice, it's an HTML pointer with an ID code. And so it actually just gets the information from the Wimba server. So we had some problems when we were first developing templates where some professors would go in and they wouldn't remove the Wimba voice and insert their own. They would just go in and modify it. Well, then the instructions that were originally there in the Wimba voice were gone, and all the other professors that also had done the same thing, suddenly all of their things were overwritten, and so you have to remove and then add new ones. Just if anybody goes the template route.
And someone, I think she left, the other woman from Drexel that was back for the issue. I think she mentioned using the PDFs instead of docs, which is something that we always do too, but I just heard from someone who just had a QM course review that they got hit hard to make sure that the PDFs were accessible PDFs. So accessibility is really an issue that,
It's going to be like language texting, other than the accessibility criteria?
I
I mean, is
think
it
it's
more
pretty broad.
pretty broad,
I
pretty,
think, yeah,
concept, pretty flexible, so when you're internalizing something, to Brett's point, more maybe broad principle based
It's,
rather than,
right.
do you have a link, do you have this tool, it's not quite that.
No, I never, you know, and we don't, when we do the internal review, we're not testing every link. That is the instructor's responsibility to make those links work, so.
But if they wanted to do
But
something
the-
different.
But it says the tools and technology, the technology must be appropriate and it must be working, you know. But if you have a dead one, I mean, when I run the OL 101, I go through like a week before, make sure everything's working. I can't, you know, how many times you go in a week later and so many of them aren't. So we're not so much worried about that other than if we find one, we'll do a reminder.
I was just thinking like if they came across a new piece of, you know, they wanted to do something a little bit different. If you thought that Quality Matters was flexible enough to give them the guidelines to know whether or not that would be an effective or would meet, you know, the QM standards and that's all.
I don't think Quality Matters gets into it from a pedagogical perspective. Is this the right tool for this learning objective? Like I said before, is the alignment there between the objective and materials, and whether or not that tool is going to give you the end result that you want. You know, lots of times we'll have conversations, the instructional designer will, but
That's not.
I don't think Quality Matters gives you that kind of guidance. Did this help at all?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah, a little bit, maybe. You don't have to be kind. I mean, I wasn't quite sure what we could do with this. And like I said, I do want to do more Quality Matters, but that is what I know. I can give you our QM recipe for success and give you some highlights from what other schools were doing to know. And on the back is a wordle from QM. So as I said, Penn State adopted QM, but they have 12 standards. They added in copyright functionality and student input for improvement. Keystone College uses it for faculty development. They only do internal reviews and they issue course certificates. So they're not even issuing Quality Matters certificate. Texas Women's University did a 3-year pilot program, and they have QM peer-reviewed and trained faculty and QM recognized courses, but they put a formalized program structure in place over 3 years to make it happen. In Chippewa Valley Technical College, they couldn't attack the courses that were already existed, but they're making sure any new course that comes along will meet Quality Matters standards. And we've always, Bucks have done something similar. It's like some of these courses we know just need help, but because of faculty union issues, we're not allowed to go in and look at them. You know, we can only encourage a faculty member to work with us, and so in some points, we only have, like I said, one instructional designer. We have to go where we can get the most bang for the buck, and that is we put it into everything going forward, and we catch what we can on the back end and just hope some of these people retire. It works. You know? Northern Kentucky, they developed best practice standards and an online learning website. So the person who said they were developing those, the job aids, that's pretty much been their approach. University of Kentucky has a toolkit. They provide a recommended layout and they offer sample courses. Once again, that's one of the things we touched on. Capella did what they call a course room support center. And that's sort of like from what I read, it's sort of like the Start Here module that Bucks had done. And they peer review courses and they give university-wide recognition. Baton Rouge has a stipend for their faculty designers. They do an awards ceremony and they do a brown bag Did You Know. Ashford University uses templates, a blog, an implementation schedule. So somebody was asking, you know, how long does this take? These folks had, so if you want to contact Ashford University, they've got an implementation schedule that they stick to. And they do course templates and QM training. Montana State University, this person had a reflective journal This is your continuous improvement and evaluation piece, and a reflective journal based on critical incident questionnaire model. So the answers, this was ongoing through the course, and it was sort of like what, I don't want to say your muddiest point, what worked, what grabbed you this time through, or this learning module. And so the instructor's getting constant feedback by reading these journal entries throughout the course to know when they have to shift the course and not just wait till the end. They're doing continuous improvement all the way through this journaling thing that they put into the course. I thought that was pretty neat. And St. Joe's College of Maine, here's another one. They have two course design cycles a year. They do 20 courses in a 4-month time period. So there's St. Joe's if you're interested again in how you can set up that cycle. They might be a good go-to place for you. And they use QM trained developers in the process, and that says it helps them move along very easily. So lots of people doing lots of different things, lots of different approaches, and I don't think there's any one way that fits all. We sort of all have our gotchas that we have to deal with, like union issues and how we can get around them. And like you said, you've got best practice. You've already got it going across. How can you leverage what you've already got and maybe pull in something that gives you an overarching umbrella to guide everybody by, but then customize it to suit the college's needs. And that's what I liked about QM is that they didn't come down and say you must just use our standards in our way and only do it this way. They really work with you to know that your school can use it any way that it really fits them.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier about Penn State actually adding 2 more standards.
Yeah, I think it was 3 altogether. Yeah. Yeah. So in their review part, they're using QM plus 3 more, and that's all. And that's their online campus, their world campus. I don't know what the rest of the university is, but for their world campus. We're done.
Time's up.
All right. Thank you.